We're kicking things off with Vicki McKenna and CultureCast, and we've reached peak irony in this hipster doofus culture of ours when it comes to these COVID freaks. We have an unbelievable story. The video is just unbelievable of two old biddies wearing masks in a elevator confronting an African-American fella who's not wearing a mask. I gotta just play this.
Get out.
Get out.
Yo, stop.
Get out. Get out.
What you guys doing? Get out.
Get out.
What you guys doing? What's wrong with you?
Get out. Don't touch me.
Don't you have
Do not touch me.
Get out.
Do not touch me.
Get out. I'm not touching you. Oh, did you just hit me? Did you just hit me?
You just hit me.
You just hit me? You too?
Black Lives Matter.
Yo, this is racist. Wow.
Get out. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Stop. Yo, stop. Stop recording. I don't know you. Yo, you need to stop.
Get out.
I'm not getting out. I was here
Yes, you
first.
are.
I'm sorry, but if ever the phrase, I'm going to smack a if that phrase, that hey, it's not my phrase, it's big in the African-American community, if that phrase ever had utility, I'd like to think it was right now.
Well, I gotta say, if he would have taken a swing at one of them, he would have been arrested for assault at least.
Well, he was
disorderly conduct.
He was assaulted by one of them.
100%. And you know what? And kudos to that man for having the self-control to just, he took it. What he could have done is he could have blasted one of them, and frankly, most people would have said you deserved it. But he had a lot of self-control, and so I applaud that guy. He
was somewhere between laughing and being really pissed off. You couldn't tell.
Yeah, you could hear him laugh.
They were like little granny zombies, just bouncing around in the elevator with it. It was weird.
Get out. It was crazy though. It's like bad sketch comedy. It's sketch comedy that's so bad you would never laugh at it. The only way it's funny is because it's real. But it says something, Duke, and that is that the COVIDian Karens will not go gently. They will not go gently, and they are still demanding that everybody worship alongside them in the Church of COVID and participate in the Eucharist of the mask and the vax. And if you don't, they will, they want you in jail. They want to maim your career. They want you dead. Oftentimes, you go cruise around Twitter for a little while and look at all of the blue check left wingers calling for or enthusiastically enjoying announcements of dead unvaccinated people. It's just, I don't know what's happened to our culture. It's all gone so sideways so fast that I just sometimes wish we could laugh and drink.
I really love the analogy with all the ritual of the Catholic Church. You forgot one, I think, though, and don't forget the last rites, where every death is blessed as a COVID death, no matter what kills you.
Well, and the last rites include cheering on your demise.
Exactly.
Well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If I hear that one more time, I might actually throw a swing.
I go back to those ladies, and the thing that gets me about that is you and I both have long contended that all this Black Lives Matter garbage is just a way for white liberals to keep their positions, to keep their power, not to have to give up any of their own jobs, right, while they're lecturing the other white people of the world of their evil. Somehow it's like a get out of white free card, right, to play the black. And at the very end, when those ladies, I think it began to dawn on them that this poor black guy was feeling cornered and assaulted, they just started Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, and they were like bouncing around on the camera.
Bad noise toys.
It was like COVID Pac-Man. They were just like those little ghosts that hover around you. For God's sake.
They are blacker than he is. That's what you have to
exactly
understand.
Right.
Is that he's of the wrong. He has committed a thought crime. He is out in public without a mask. He refuses to accede to their insane demands. He will not kneel before the altar of St. Fauci and accept his Eucharist of the vaccine or the mask. And so he's not black any longer, because remember, if you disagree with the left, everything's racist. That's their theory of everything. So if you disagree with them wanting to wrap your 2-year-old's face in a filthy bacteria-infested piece of cloth and not learn, proper speech and social interaction, you're a racist. If you don't support mandatory vaccinations of a product that's actually been shown to be harmful to many people, you're a racist. And so a black man is a racist, and two little old white biddies are blacker than the black guy.
And in any other instance, we've had grandma Karens like this doing this. Every instance, they have been fired, they've been doxxed, people find out where they work and they've been removed from their jobs. The companies give these elaborate, we will not have people like this working in our offices. Now, we'll see, because COVID is the trigger. I'll be interested to see who wins this, zombie grandmas or the poor, assaulted, actual black dude.
I want to know what I say. I bet you they're retired, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I bet you we have some retired teachers or librarians. One of those two.
I love the teacher. It sounds exactly what a teacher would do. Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
After the break, we got another a COVID outrage to share. All right, back again with Vicki McKenna for the second segment of Culture Cast. Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be impossible to top what we did in the first segment, but we do have an interesting story about how driven to hysterics used to reserve that word in the Victorian period for out of control women, hysteria. Now it's the COVIDians, right? Professor suggests that anti-maskers should be hit by drunk drivers. Go ahead and take a look at the quote here. Why is it from Professor Ed Fuller? Why is it a parent's right to endanger the lives of other people's kids and of teachers? Maybe people wearing masks should just drive drunk and speed through the neighborhoods of pro-COVID parents as a way of exercising their free rights.
So now we randomly cheer on the death of people we dislike and disagree with, because you're not allowed to disagree in this country any longer. It doesn't matter if it's COVID, if it's BLM, if it's CRT, if it's open borders policy, if it's exploding inflation. If you disagree with the prevailing crafted progressive narrative, then you deserve to die. You know, Trump supporters deserve to die. Conservatives deserve to die. People who want to see Roe versus Wade overturned deserve to die. People who don't want to wear masks deserve to die. People with natural immunity deserve to die. It's crazy. But maybe you can help me out. Where do people learn to respond to disagreement with prayers for death? Duke, well, I mean, this is something new in our culture.
It is, and it is a consequence of this attitude that's been going around about 20 years now, and it was centralized in the universities and the schools, that to be liberal is to be right. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to argue for it. There is no logical argument, however profound, will undo the virtue of your worldview. And so what do you expect when you tell people that their worldview is omniscient, where they're infallible like the Pope? Right? That just simply for being progressive, that turns into hate real quick. And it gets even, I think, Vicki, a little deeper than that. We had that horrible drive-by murder here that made international news, but the news didn't really want to talk about it.
For 5 minutes, yeah.
For 5, and what was the little town here in Milwaukee, was that?
It was in Waukesha.
Waukesha, that's right.
Not even a small town, a pretty large city.
Right, but it was a blip, right? Because you had an African-American who did exactly what this professor said, drove into a group of people just having a fun time at Christmas and run them over, right? You could make the argument to punish them for being white and happy and Christmassy. And this professor, by linking onto this, I mean, he's really engaging, I think. He's sharing the idea of a particular kind of terrorism that the left, we knew that the left didn't care about those people at Waukesha, and he seems to be doing the same thing here, right? Maybe, doesn't this give us the right to just drive drunk, he says, into the neighborhoods of these anti-vaxxers and run them over as a new kind of justice? He sees, this professor, what happened in Waukesha as complete justice for white people.
Well, I think as well, we have the left is thoroughly dehumanized, thoroughly undone the humanity and the respect for us as individual human beings. It's been undone. And so if you're no better than a rat, or you're no better than, you don't have a God to tell you that it's not okay to dismiss people as subhuman or lesser than worthy of protection under the law, it's pretty easy to justify doing all kinds of things. We have history littered, as a matter of fact, with people who had so dehumanized their enemies that they justified all manner of hell raining down on them. And yet the same people who are doing this are the same people who follow in the footsteps and lurk in the shadow of Stalin and other noteworthy communists or fascists. But if you point that out to them, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist.
I go back to Youngkin in Virginia. When you had a Democrat as the governor and he wrote these mask mandates, all the schools viciously enforced them because you got to follow the law, right? And now comes Youngkin, who uses his power as governor to do away with them, and now they're suspending kids for showing up without masks. Again, is this a situation, do you think, where you could rightly send the National Guard into those schools and force those kids into the classrooms?
Sure, you could, but who's got the guts to do it? Maybe Youngkin's got the guts to do it. Maybe Abbott's got the guts to do it. I bet you DeSantis, if anything like that were to happen, would have the guts to do it. Of course you can do that. And make a stand. Take a stand. Make a statement about what's right, the rule of law, but no one on the conservative side in any kind of number has done that in a way that allows people to recognize there's an alternative to this debate. By the way, one other thing, when you've got those progressives saying it's the law, you got to follow the law, and then of course when it's their turn to follow the law that they don't like, then it's an attack on democracy, or it's an attack on public health, or it's an attack on something. To be liberal is to give yourself permission never to have to be logical, never to have to be consistent, never to have to, reject hypocrisy or monitor and check your own hypocrisy. You can just say whatever comes to mind, whatever makes you feel good, and it is right by virtue of the fact that you are the most virtuous because you have anointed yourself so.